back to another episode of the Smash Mountain Football's NFL pod, and I'm here once again with our UK-based journalist Conor Perrott to talk all things American football for NFL fans at this side of the pond. Conor, are you keeping well?
Yes, I'm doing well, thank you. It's been a bit of an active week in the NFL with a lot of injuries, so I guess there's a fair bit to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about Thursday. Just the fact that on Thursday Night Football we lost Joe Burrow from the Bengals, which are one of the Super Bowl contenders. What do you make of the impact of that injury?
Yeah, it's gonna be a big loss for a team there that was sort of on its way up a little bit in a big divisional game. I know obviously Jake Brown coming in undrafted, so it's not the best replacement they would like in, but there's a lot of injuries that's happened in this AFC North at the minute. So, you look at the Deshaun Watson and the Mark Andrews. How do you think these injuries are sort of gonna impact the division?
Oh, massively. I think I would write the Bengals off as Super Bowl contenders straight away. They're 5-5. They have a really tough schedule. Jake Browning came in on Thursday night, and he actually looked okay. He looked like he had something about him, but the differences between winning and losing in the NFL are so marginal when you're missing someone like Joe Burrow. I think they might make a run for the playoffs in terms of I can see them maybe getting 8-9 wins, but in terms of being a Super Bowl contender, I think that is the Bengals out. I think they are gone from the Super Bowl conversation, which is a pity because I think they have a really good team. What do you make of Mark Andrews being missing from or what do you think of Mark Andrews being missing from the Ravens? Do you think it'll have a similar impact?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a big loss. At least for me, I had him in fantasy, so that's a bit annoying to lose him there. But Odell Beckham showed up in the game and it's sort of his first big game in Baltimore as a Raven. So I think that would be big for them still. Because like I said, I've spoken about. I think this Baltimore team is one of the best in the NFL, and they've added a lot to the offense around Lamar Jackson. So it's going to be a big loss because that's been really the Ravens' main playmaker the last few years now and Lamar Jackson's most trusted guy. But I think there's still players around, and especially I think their defense as well is so good at the minute that I think it will sort of help the offense out as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they have one of the best backup tight ends in Isaiah Likely. He caught the eye a few times last season on primetime games. So he still has the option. Lamar will be missing the safety blanket, but as you said, they have the weapons that they can kind of lean on. It won't really affect their game as much. What do you make of Deshaun Watson? He's out for the season as well. Do you think the Browns losing Deshaun Watson will have the same impact as, just say, the Bengals losing Burrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I said, they're both starting quarterbacks, so it's going to affect them a lot. I mean, Watson, he's already missed, is it 4 games this season? So he's been beat up already. So we know what this Browns team is like without him. I mean, they went 2-2 with him. I think they got wins against San Francisco and the Colts as well, who aren't two bad teams whatsoever. So I honestly think the Bengals losing Burrow will affect them more. Just because I think, like I said, I think the Browns have a roster where they maybe don't rely on the quarterback as more. They're a run more team with a solid defense. When the Bengals, they are a passing team that are going to go through Joe Burrow. So I think, like I say, both teams now you looked at and maybe thought these are teams that could go deep in the playoffs, and now losing their quarterback, we don't think that could be the case anymore. Like I say, they're both teams that are going to maybe struggle to even get playoff football with the AFC being so stacked. But yeah, I think it's huge losses, but I probably would say the Bengals have suffered more.
I think the Browns. I'm actually excited that they named Dorian Thompson-Robinson as the QB1. I know. I think most people probably thought PJ Walker would come in, but so he can use his legs. So maybe their run game will get a bit more varied in terms of how they move forward. So let's go to the Monday Night Football tonight's matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, which is a repeat of the Super Bowl back in February. Let's start with the home team, the Kansas City Chiefs. And when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs, the main person to start with is Patrick Mahomes. The Kansas City Chiefs, they haven't really been getting it done on offense, but Mahomes is still being Mahomes. He still has 17 touchdowns, which although it's the lowest in his career after 10 games, it's still pretty good. and he's kind of picking up a lot of yards with his feet. I think he's the team's second biggest rusher. I think he's averaging over 6 yards a carry. Why do you think the Kansas City Chiefs haven't really kind of just lit it up this season so far on offense?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I think we've talked about it now. They don't really have the playmakers they once had. Obviously, Tyreek Hill's been gone for a few years now, but it has sort of been they have struggled to sort of replace him in the receiving game. Travis Kelce is still the main guy there, and he is going to be because he is one of the not just best tight ends in football, but best receivers in football. But yeah, guys like Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, I think these are players that haven't really hit the ground running like Chiefs would have thought. They're still doing amazing because, like I say, they're coming off a Super Bowl. They still have one of the best records in the league. But yeah, I think both teams, the Chiefs and Eagles, they're not quite the same as last year.
Yeah, you often hear of Super Bowl hangovers for the losers, but for Super Bowl hangovers for the winners, one of the things about Kelsey, is a high profile um, romance with Taylor Swift. Do you know what it reminds me a lot of is you're watching the Beckham documentary.
Hmm.
I remember Alex Ferguson. One of the things they used to, you could see it really pissed them off that every single day, Beckham was on the front covers of newspapers, on the back covers of newspapers. It proved a huge distraction over time. Do you think we're seeing that with Kelsey as well, considering, you know, he's a week off and, you can't look at the website without seeing him in Brazil or Argentina. Do you think this could be kind of just a distraction that the Chiefs don't need?
Maybe, like I said, I think I sort of thought that as well. Like I say, in the bye week, you saw Kelsey up there, and with the Beckham documentary being recent, you see that as well. Beckham going off to the tours for the Spice Girls. So yeah, I think that comparison does work a little bit. I think, like I say, the Chiefs. I think he's still hopefully going to be professional about it, though. Like I say, you're a football player. You can't be a robot. You got to enjoy your pastime as well. So he's still going to be focused. This is a huge game for him as well. He's playing his brother, which is always going to be competitive with the Eagles. So I think the Chiefs, they know what they're doing at the end of the day. They've won multiple Super Bowls. Kelsey and Mahomes, they've got a connection like no other. So I think all should still maybe be good in that sense.
Yeah, I think Kelsey's stats when Taylor Swift is at games is better than when she's not at the game. So I think they're kind of riding this wave. But I think over time, if the attention continues to be the same, you know, um, so that'll be a decision probably the general manager will have to make in terms of moving the team forward.
Mm.
Um, One of the standout parts of the Chiefs this year has been their defense. I think they're second in terms of sacks. I think you have Chris Jones has 5.5 sacks, and the other defensive end has 5.5 sacks. You have George Karlaftis with 6 sacks. They're really getting a really good pass rush going this year. And the last time out against Miami Dolphins, they kept Tyreek Hill to about 62 yards. So, what do you think? Who are your favorite players in this Kansas City Chiefs defense, and how good are they compared to the rest of the league?
Yeah, I mean, it's a defense that sort of is always steadily improving. It's never maybe the top, but it's always consistently there. Obviously, Chris Jones is going to be the main guy at the top of that list, with him being one of the best interior D linemen in the league. But I like their linebacker core. I think I remember we spoke about Chiefs early in the season. And I said I'm a big fan of their linebacker core, especially Nick Bolton. I think he's really come on. He was a raw project a couple years ago when he came out the draft, but he's really a really solid linebacker, great in the run game, hits hard, and obviously gets interceptions as well. I think he had one in the Super Bowl, but like I said, I think their linebacker core really starts from there, and that sort of dictates really how this defense plays.
Yeah, you don't want to be a running back and see Chris Jones or see Nick Bolton coming down and hitting you one. Yeah, he really hits hard. And one of the things about their team as well is, last time out, this time they're coming up against a top wide receiver in AJ Brown. How do you think they're going to tackle him? Is he going to have, are they going to have two men and put him on double coverage all the time and kind of have somebody over the top, stop giving up the big plays? Do you think?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like I say, AJ Brown, he's having a really good year this season, and I think, like I say, the Chiefs have the defenders for it. The Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie. These are cornerbacks who are starting capable, but it's hard when you start double teaming because you have Devontae Smith, a Heisman winner, on the other side, and so we know what he can do. So I think they're going to have to double team AJ Brown, or at least try and take him out of the game as much as they can, because he is such a weapon. But they can't get too distracted by him, because there's plenty of other players on this Eagles offense that can hurt them.
I think AJ Brown, I think he's really stepped up this season. So let's talk about the since we're talking about AJ Brown, the Eagles offense. What do you make of Jalen Hurts so far this season?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, Hurts he's still going good as he can be, really. Like he's a quarterback that can affect in the passing game and rushing game, and I think that's what you want most out of a quarterback, because when you have a guy that can hurt you as well on his feet, then that really makes things tough for the defense. So he's maybe not having the year like he said last year, and I think that's the Eagles in general. They've taken a little bit of a downgrade, even though their record still speaks for itself on the field. It's not as good as last year, but he's still, I think, one of the top quarterbacks in this league, and that tush push is working for them. So it's always going to be hard to stop that offense.
Yeah, no, they've got one of the best offensive lines and coming up against a really good defensive line in the Chiefs. So I think that could be the game right there of who gets a bit dominant. And do you think Hurts not moving with his ball? Do you think it has to do with the offensive coordinator just not put an emphasis on that side of the ball, or do you think they're just maybe saving him? Or I've heard reports saying that he might be carrying an injury, so maybe they're trying to take him out of contact.
Yeah.
How more effective do you think the Eagles would be with him?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of saw that last year. I think the end of last season, he sort of picked up an injury, and they were protective. Like I say, there's a new person calling plays there with the old OC going to the Colts. So it's going to take time for that offense to develop, because it's not going to be the same. They're going to be changing formats, and nothing clicks like that. But I think it's still an offense that we've seen. DeAndre Swift has been working in the run game. Maybe not as late, but especially at the start of the season, their run game was looking better. So it's going to have its ups and downs. But I think as the season goes on, I think this offense will actually get better.
And I think they're going to be wearing Kelly Green on Monday Night Football as well, which is I never really liked the Eagles jersey, but I think that Kelly Green is pretty cool. What you make of it so far?
It's very bright. Yeah, it's very bright. I mean, it stands out for Irish, doesn't it? So you're going to like it.
Yeah, as Shades of Green goes, yeah, I think it's looks pretty cool in the jersey. In terms of the Eagles defense, who are your favorite players in the Eagles defense?
Yeah, I mean, we speak a lot of them. Like Jalen Carter's a guy that we speak about, who, like I say, I loved coming out of the draft, and I love their secondary as well. I think, or at least their cornerbacks, James Bradbury, Darius Slay. Again, I think last year they were the two best corners in football, and they happen to be on the same team. But like I said, they're a team that has players everywhere. That defensive line is stacked with people. Jordan Davis, he's another guy that I feel sort of gets overshadowed now that Jalen Carter's there.
He does.
He's a massive man. Like I say, when you watch him, you can't miss him, and the way he affects the games, it's really incredible.
Yeah, and he can move for a big man. With him, he's a man mountain, and they've got Hassan Reddick coming off the side as well. I think he's got 7.5 sacks. So their defensive front has possibly improved since last year, but they're kind of missing a little bit through the middle of the field in terms of linebackers and safety. But they signed Kevin Byard in free agency, and I think what a signing! They're really putting all the chips in front of the table in terms of like going for the Super Bowl this year. So when it comes down to it, who do you think is going to win on Monday Night Football?
I'm gonna stick with the same result in the Super Bowl. I think the Chiefs are gonna pull through with Taylor Swift in the crowd there. But no, like I say, it's gonna be a competitive game. These are two of the best teams in the NFL still. But I do think that I'm both coming off bye weeks, so they're both going to be prepared and ready for it and healthy. But I do think the Chiefs do edge this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Chiefs as well. Just the fact that I believe in Mahomes. I think when the game is there to be won and the ball is in his hand, he's somebody who's going to get it done. Last time out the Eagles were against the Cowboys, I thought the Cowboys were the better team. For the 60 minutes, Dak had the ball in his hands to drive the field to win the game, and he couldn't get it done. But that's where Mahomes kind of separates himself from the rest. I think when the game is on the line, he's the person you want with the ball in hand. So, Conor, let's look forward to the match tonight, and we'll catch you later during the week and we'll preview Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, pleasure as always. We'll see you next week.